To what extent? Well, what were your projections about the possible effects on the oil market and oil prices, and how big did that feature in your work?
Quite a lot, because the oil market was the main transmission mechanism to the world economy of that sort of conflict. There are general confidence effects. Markets don't like wars, they don't like political situations they can't read, but the more concrete transmission channel through which a crisis, a war, it would impact the global economy, we thought would be oil and oil price shock, and that's just looking back to the history of the 70s and what we had seen happen there. We modeled that quite closely. There was work going on at that time in the DTI, as then was, as well, on the oil price, potential oil shocks, what had happened in the first Gulf War. There was a fair amount of historical data that you could use. I think we modeled the oil price. Today, this seems very comforting. We modeled the oil price doubling from $20 to $40 in the extreme scenario, and then we made some assumptions about how that would impact the world economy. Just underlining on my earlier point about modeling, we have seen the oil price go up to nearly $150 with relatively little impact on the world economy. So the assumptions we were making about what would happen from 20 to 40 in that paper were probably wrong.
So you were making an assumption of a short-term spike of 20 to 40, but medium to longer term, what were your calculations suggesting about the effect of the end of sanctions, production in Iraq being restored or, indeed, developed towards its potential levels? What effect? Was there some upside in the medium to longer term, from our perspective, for the oil market?
I'm pretty sure that we didn't take the upside into account. We looked at suppliers being fairly constant, and I think the forecast only ran 2 years out. So you would have expected any major increase in Iraqi oil production to take a bit longer than that, I think. Some of the later work, I think there was later work that we did on reconstruction of the oil industry in Iraq suggested.
You weren't assuming a benefit for Western energy security as a result of changing the regime in Iraq.
No.
Now, there was just a question I wanted to raise as well. Was any work done in the Treasury on benefits, particular benefits to UK energy supply or to the UK oil industry as a result of your work?
No, the only thing that I think comes close is that, in the fiscal impacts of a crisis, a high oil price benefits the UK, because we are an oil producer and we have tax and license revenues, so we took that upside. That's one of the reasons why the impact on the UK economy is not straightforward. So we took into account what would happen with an oil price spike. It would actually mean damage to the UK economy, but more revenue coming in, but we weren't trying to do an exercise about the economic pros and cons of the war. That was not the object of the exercise. The exercise was, if conflict happens, can we trace through how it would impact the UK in a variety of ways in a fairly short-term exercise? I think the furthest we went ahead was looking at the fiscal position 2006.
The question was whether anywhere in the Treasury there was an interest in potential upsides in terms of the UK oil industry.
Not as far as I'm aware, no.
Thank you very much.